So, Allison, what kind of family did you grow up in? I grew up in a single parent household with my father. And how did your family situation impact your upbringing? We faced challenges, but my father taught me the value of hard work. Hmm, alright. What about you? Do you have a family? Well, I'm not sure how relevant this is to the position I'm applying to. I would appreciate it if you were more collaborative. Do you want this job or not? Well, I do have a child. I am a single mom myself, and I have resilience both personally and professionally. Tough for you. Don't individuals from background like yours lack the skills and connection to thrive in a competitive environment? Background shouldn't be a barrier to success. It instills determination. Well, in my experience, those from disadvantaged backgrounds struggle to fit into high pressure corporate environments. Can you handle the demands of this job? I am more than capable. My background taught me resilience and adaptability. Frankly, I have my doubts. People like you rarely succeed in competitive fields. Excuse me? You heard me. Your background is a liability, not an asset. We're looking for candidates with more advantageous circumstances. That's unfair and discriminatory. My background doesn't define my capabilities. It's just the reality. You should lower your expectations. The job isn't for someone like you. I won't let your prejudice discourage me. I have the skills and determination to succeed, regardless of my background. Suit yourself, but don't be surprised when you fail. My name is Allison, and at the age of 23, I found myself juggling the roles of a college senior, a single mother, and an ambitious woman in New York City. Life hadn't always been easy for me, especially after my ex boyfriend Tyler, who turned out nothing to be but a jerk, abandoned me as soon as he discovered I was pregnant. I fled to another city and went to college there. Left to care for our child alone, I knew I had to forge my own path and create a better future for both of us. He had not talked to me for 2 years, but I'd figured I was better off without him. Growing up, I had always admired my father, a highly respected executive at a prestigious bank. His unwavering dedication and success in his career served as an endless inspiration for me. I yearned to follow his footsteps, prove my worth, and achieve similar accomplishments. As I was really close to graduating college, I became laser focused on the goal of securing a job at my father's renowned bank. However, I was determined not to take the easy way out by relying on his influence. I wanted to prove myself based on my own merit and abilities. As I prepared to step into the world of corporate finance, I knew the road ahead would be challenging, but armed with a fierce determination, I marched into the bank with confidence. I decided not to disclose my connection to my father to anyone in the office. I wanted to be judged on my own merit, not on the kind of favoritism. I was determined to display professionalism and dedication that caught the attention of the hiring managers. After weeks, I finally received something that really filled me with a mixture of excitement and hope. It was an invitation for a final job interview at my father's prestigious bank. The prospect of working at the same institution where my father had made his impact felt like an important validation of my hard work. On the day of the interview, I walked into the sleek office building with a sense of purpose. As I sat across from Mrs. Anderson, the interviewer, I couldn't help but notice her piercing gaze. Unexpectedly, she delved into the interview with a series of questions that went beyond my qualifications and experience, probing into my personal life. So, Allison, what kind of family did you grow up in? I grew up in a single parent household with my father. And how did your family situation impact your upbringing? We faced challenges, but my father taught me the value of hard work. Alright. What about you? Do you have a family? Despite feeling really uneasy about the intrusive nature of her questions, I wanted to answer respectfully. However, the turning point came when Mrs. Anderson didn't seem to notice my uneasiness and continued to direct the conversation in a way that bothered me deeply. Well, I'm not sure how relevant this is to the position I'm applying to. I'd appreciate it if you were more collaborative. Do you want this job or not? Well, I do have a child. I'm a single mom myself, and I have resilience both personally and professionally. Tough for you. Don't individuals from backgrounds like yours lack the skills and connections to thrive in a competitive environment? Background shouldn't be a barrier to success. It instills determination. Well, in my experience, those from disadvantaged backgrounds struggle to fit into high pressure corporate environments. Can you handle the demands of this job? I am more than capable. My background taught me resilience and adaptability. Frankly, I have my doubts. People like you rarely succeed in competitive fields. Excuse me? You heard me. Your background is a liability, not an asset. We're looking for candidates with more advantageous circumstances. That's unfair and discriminatory. My background doesn't define my capabilities. It's the reality. You should lower your expectations. This job isn't for someone like you. I won't let your prejudice discourage me. I have the skills and determination to succeed regardless of my background. Suit yourself, but don't be surprised when you fail. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. I fought to maintain my composure, not letting her see the depth of hurt and humiliation I felt. I understood that remaining professional and respectful was crucial at this point, even though her comment cut me deeply. I held my head high and kept my cool. It was then that a thought occurred to me. It was clear that Mrs. Anderson was not the designated interviewer for my final job assessment. The woman I talked to by email was really nice, and I'm sure Mrs. Anderson might just be a substitute for the day. Refusing to let her prejudice defeat me, I decided to take a bold risk. I requested to speak with Mrs. Anderson's boss. The unexpectedness of my request caught Mrs. Anderson off guard. At that moment, it became evident that I was not as naive and compliant as she had assumed. The tables had turned and the power dynamic shifted. She was forced to get up and call in somebody else. I was quite confused but more relieved than anything. At least now I would have a real chance. As I sat down with the more experienced HR specialist, I was no longer the timid interviewee I was before. I had found my voice and chose to assert myself. Calmly but firmly, I introduced myself again and convinced her to hire me. The HR specialist listened attentively, her demeanor reflecting both understanding and impression. I laid out my aspirations, my qualifications, and my desire to contribute to the bank's success. I went quite well, and I couldn't help but feel Mrs. Anderson would not let me into this company, judging from her toxic behaviors. As I left the interview room, doubts began to creep into my mind. Mrs. Anderson's remark lingered, planting seeds of uncertainty within me. I questioned whether I could truly achieve my dreams of success in an environment that harbored such terrible views. Was this the right place for me to build a career and create a better life for my child? How did my dad even succeed here? Is my future really that gloomy? I found myself filled with conflicting emotions, disappointment, anger, and a sense of betrayal. But deep down, there was still a sense of resilience. I took a moment to gather myself. I had come so far, defying expectations, and proving my worth at every step. While Mrs. Anderson's comment had wounded me, it would not define me or my future. I refused to let her narrow mindedness drag me down. A week later, my persistence and determination were rewarded when I received an email from the bank. I had been offered a job with great compensation. The joy that flooded my heart was immeasurable. I couldn't contain my excitement and took to social media to share the incredible milestone. Posting on both Facebook and Instagram, I celebrated the new chapter in my life with so much excitement. The support and encouragement from friends and family were so meaningful to me. The joy I felt was not just for myself but for all those who had stood by me throughout my journey. With gratitude in my heart and a renewed sense of purpose, I stepped into this new chapter of my life. The journey was far from over, but I was ready to embrace the challenges and embrace the opportunities that awaited me at the prestigious bank. Just as life seemed to go so well, a message from Tyler disrupted everything. It had been years since we had any contact, and I certainly did not expect him to resurface now, crawling back into my life just like that.
Hey Allison, it's been a while. I hope you're doing well. I've been thinking a lot lately and I miss you. I want to be a part of our child's life. Can we talk and figure things out?
The audacity of his words left me taken aback. How could he expect me to trust him after he had abandoned us when we needed him the most? The wounds he left behind ran deep, and I had built a life for myself and my child without him. Tyler, it's surprising to hear from you after all this time. Our child and I have been building a life without you. I can't simply welcome you back without proof of genuine change and commitment. I hope you understand. But instead of accepting my decision, Tyler's tone shifted and he lashed out, questioning my motives.
Why won't you give me a chance? Is it because you have a good job now? Do you think you're too good for me? Don't forget, we have a history together. I promise I've changed. Please reconsider.
Tyler, it's not about my job or any sense of superiority. It's about the trust you shattered when you left us behind. You can't expect me to forget the past so easily. I need more than words. For now, it's best if you respect my decision and give us the space we need.
Fine, if that's how you feel. But I promise I'll come to find you again. Our child deserves to have both parents in their lives. I won't give up on us.
Tyler, please respect our boundaries and give us the space we need. The well-being of our child is my priority. Take care. His offensive remark pierced through me, reopening old wounds. I stood my ground, refusing to let his attempts at manipulation undermine the process I had made. But deep down, I was devastated. In the aftermath of our encounter, a mixture of emotions swirled within me. Anger, disappointment, and vulnerability threatened to overshadow my recent triumphs. However, I refused to let Tyler's reappearance affect me. Finally, it came the time for me to go to my office. On the first day, something surprising caught my eye. I saw Tyler driving Mrs. Anderson to work. As they said goodbye, he called her Mom. It hit me all at once why Mrs. Anderson had been so mean to me. She was his mom. She must have hated me and blamed me for keeping the baby, thus making him move to another city. As if things were not bad enough in the office, I found myself working directly under Mrs. Anderson's authority. She continued to treat me with incredible meanness, but I was prepared for it. I made sure to gather evidence of Mrs. Anderson's inappropriate behaviors. I documented instances where she made discriminatory remarks and took unfair actions. Every day in the office was a challenge, dealing with Mrs. Anderson's attitude, but I stayed focused. I knew that gathering evidence was crucial to expose the truth and seek justice. Finally, with all the evidence I had, I decided to confront Mrs. Anderson directly. I asked her why she had been so mean to me, knowing deep down that it had everything to do with her son. I even told her that I was aware of their connection and how it influenced her treatment of me. In response, Mrs. Anderson was meaner than ever. Oh, so you finally figured it out, did you? Yes, it's because of my son. I told him to leave you and I stand by that decision. You were never good enough for him, and you certainly aren't deserving of a place in this prestigious bank. You thought you could just waltz in here pretending to be someone important? Well, let me tell you something, Allison. You will always be the girl who got knocked up and couldn't keep a man. You're pathetic. With trembling hands, I dialed my dad's number. I had previously warned him about this, and I knew he was just a few steps behind those walls, waiting to come in to help. Mrs. Anderson saw how quiet I was and she thought she was winning. She kept talking. Actually, at this point, she was practically screaming. You see, Allison, you will always be beneath me. Your aspirations, your dreams, they're all stupid and meaningless. You are nothing more than a burden to this company. I don't know why they even bothered hiring you. It's clear that you don't belong here and you never will. You're just a reminder of your own failures. As Mrs. Anderson's terrible tantrum reached its peak, my dad walked into the scene, witnessing her unprofessional behavior firsthand. The presence of my father, a highly respected executive at the company, shocked Mrs. Anderson. The room fell into an uncomfortable silence. Without hesitation, my dad took charge of the situation. Mrs. Anderson's employment was terminated almost immediately. The company recognized her misconduct and swiftly took action. She lost her job and her reputation. After that, Tyler once again reached out to me. He had the audacity to ask for money, attempting to shift blame and responsibility onto me for his mother's termination. It became painfully clear that he was nothing more than a mommy's boy, crawling back into my life for financial gain. At that moment, I saw through his manipulative tactics and rejected his request once and for all. I refused to let him exploit me. I recognized the importance of standing up for myself and protecting the well-being of my child. I blocked him out of our life forever and watched as he and his mother struggled to make ends meet. In the aftermath of these events, I held my head high, knowing that I had confronted injustice and fought for what was right. The sense of accomplishment and pursuit of a fulfilling career became my driving force. With resilience and determination, I left behind the toxicity of the past and embraced a brighter, more promising future. I can't wait to build a beautiful life with my child with the help of my hard-working, loving father. I have had my happy ending after all. What about you? What would you do if you were in my position?